Human Rights Commission meeting, 7 o'clock Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. We're about to get that going and enjoy. Be about another minute or two before we officially get started, and you'll hear that here, so you have to bear with me. Good evening, Mr. Sardar.
Good evening. How are you all?
Well.
Hello, Sachin.
Hello.
We'll be discussing HRC complaint procedure forms. We have the 1491 update for disorderly conduct. Been working on for the last few
Okay,
minutes.
Chuck, you ready for me to get things turned on?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, thank you for joining us tonight to the November. Appreciate everyone jumping in and coming in and participating with us this evening. Can we go ahead and do roll call, please?
Sure. Before we do roll call, I just wanted to note that at the next city council meeting next Tuesday, they will be considering an electronic meeting participation procedure. And that really, it's developed by the city attorney to ensure that our boards and commissions and our council complies with all of Open Meetings Acts in regards to these electronic meetings, which are very frequent now during this most recent time. So that will probably be past Tuesday. How that impacts us as a commission moving forward is that we will ask during roll call, when I call your name and you respond present, that you also include the location where you're at during this meeting electronically. So you would say, Shelley, here in East Lansing, Ingham County, Michigan. So those are the things that should be noted so that anyone who's watching knows where we are, what location we're at while attending the meeting. So with that, this evening when I call roll call, if you will do that, if you'll just say present and then indicate where you are right now, the county that you're in the state you're in. City, county, state. So with that, Pat Cannon.
Here in East Lansing, Ingham County.
Michigan.
Oh yeah, Michigan.
Thank you. Chuck Grigsby.
Ingham County, East Lansing, Michigan, here.
Here in Honey. Carla McWhorter.
Present, attending from East Lansing, Ingham County, Michigan.
Liz Miller.
Present in East Lansing, Ingham County, Michigan.
Crystal Davis Dunn.
Crystal, present, attending from East Lansing, Michigan. Ingham County, East Lansing, Michigan.
Catherine Rifiotis Slavinsky.
Present, attending from East Lansing, Clinton County, in Michigan.
Besson Sardar.
Present, East Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County.
Quentin Tyler.
Oh, actually, I'm in Lansing, Kentucky, but I will be in East Lansing, Michigan tomorrow morning.
So Lexington, Kentucky. What county?
No, Lexington, Kentucky, Fayette County, Lexington, Kentucky.
Gotcha. Thank you all.
Thank you, Shelley. All right, we'll move on to item 1.2. I would like to make an amendment to the November 4th, 2020 meeting. Councilmember Bacon would like to be moved up to item 1.5 and taken from 6.1. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cannon. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so moved. Thank you. All right, continuing on with item 1.2. I'm assuming everyone's got a chance to look at the November 4th, 2020 meeting. And I would like to make a motion to approve that agenda. Is there a second?
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda.
Go ahead.
Can I proceed with the motion?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Just based off the conversation that we had about the ordinance review subcommittee, I just wanted to add a discussion item, if it was possible under new business, to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of our commission. We figured with Crystal that it would be better for us to gather, everyone's kind of input of what works, what doesn't work, what could be improved before we start digging up any suggestions for changes.
Okay, and I apologize. It wasn't very clear for me as far as what the motion is. Can you help me with that?
It's a discussion about the strengths and weaknesses of the commission. We wanted to draw on people's experience in the past and learn from everyone before we start digging into what changes or what improvements could be made.
Okay. Is there a second to Commissioner Catherine's motion to add 3.2 item discussing the strengths and weaknesses of the HRC's commission? What was the last part of that?
That was it, and then I can expand more when we get to the discussion.
Okay.
Ed Cannon, second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cannon. So we'll add that discussion item to new business to new business 3.2 under new business. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. All right, going back to item 1.2, in approval of November 4th, 2020 agenda items.
I have just a language amendment for item 5.4 to be changed to study committee on an independent police oversight commission, just for consistency in the name of that group.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. We did make that change on item 5.4. We did catch that. Is that so? We have it listed. If I think it's what you want to study committee on independent police oversight commission update.
Oh, sorry, I must not have seen the updated.
Yeah. It was just changed recently, so you may have not saw that. Do you want to still move forward with any motions with the agenda at all? No?
Justin was so kind as to provide the link for the updated agenda in the chat, if that helps anyone.
Thank you, Commissioner McWhorter. Assuming that everyone's able to get a chance to see that updated agenda, I'm asking, is there a motion to approve that now new updated agenda for November 4th, 2020?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Catherine and seconded by seconded by Vice Chair Crystal Davis Dunn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? So moved. All right, we'll move to item 1.3, approval of the minutes that we have here. And we'll start off with for the minutes for September 2nd, 2020. I'm assuming everyone's got a chance to take a look at that, and I will make a motion to approve those minutes. Is there a second?
I would just like to make an amendment to the minutes.
For
My name is spelled incorrectly. It's spelled for the THRYN, and it's just THERINE. So Shelley, if you just want to catch that.
Oh, all right. That's
That's
a
all.
friendly
Minor.
amendment with that. We can certainly make that updated. And just to kind of give
Hey, Chuck,
context.
hey, Chuck, this is Quentin Tyler. So I just want to make sure that you inform everybody before we speak, just to, mention your name first, everybody on the call. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyler. To kind of give a background why you probably see September there, I must have made an error in that motion in getting that officially done. So that's why that's added on there. So that's why we're approving two separate minutes here that you see here. So all those in favor of approving with the updated spelling of Commissioner Catherine's name for September 2nd, 2020, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. All right. Again, we'll be moving on to item 1.4. Assuming that everyone's got a chance and there is no amendments to that, I would make a motion to approve October 7th, 2020 meeting. Is there a second?
Yes.
One quick moment. Someone's phone is.
I apologize. It was the October 7th minute meetings that had my name spelled incorrectly. So just want to make that clear.
You're really trying to confuse us tonight, aren't you? All right. So just for correction purposes, we're going to actually approve and update October 7th, 2020, the spelling of Commissioner Catherine's name on that, and not for the September 2nd, 2020. We'll leave that as is at the motion carried. That clear enough, Shelley? All right. So with that updated approval and there's no other amendments, I make a motion to approve October 7th, 2020 minutes for the Human Rights Commission meeting. Is there a second?
So moved.
So
moved.
Okay. I made the motion, so I'll assume that you want to second that, Commissioner Tyler.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I've been the reason why I kind of switched up my cadence with the motions is that I probably was waiting to do this motion, this technology. Sometimes there's delay, and I think that kind of messed our minutes up. And so I just took it upon myself to just go ahead and move some of these motions myself and just have them second to keep it a little bit more simpler. So just to kind of give you guys a background on that.
Hey, Chuck, just kind of recapping like parliamentary procedure. I don't know if the chairperson can't do that.
I think as a point of order, it's technically allowed, but frowned upon.
Yeah.
I feel like traditionally I've heard chairs say I would entertain a motion to blank. That may be a
Yeah, I think I'm allowed, Commissioner Tyler, but I don't think it's like the best way to go about it. And I only did, like I said, I only did it because I just know that that's what happened with the technologies challenge that we have. Sometimes when I'm writing and looking, and I don't hear, and so I was trying to make it easier. But I definitely don't mind going back to entertaining emotions in regards for most of the things that I do. I'd much rather do it that way.
Urgency, so it's okay. I just want to make sure we follow proper protocols.
All right, and I probably won't be doing motions on my own for the most part. I just wanted to kind of make sure I got these minutes that I messed up earlier. So thanks for bearing with me, and thank you for making that indication about the chair's role and what he or she should be doing. All right, we'll move to item number 2, communications from the public. We have 2.1.
Chuck, you need to vote on that first.
I'm sorry, what did I miss?
I don't think you voted on the approval of the minutes. You just had the motion.
For October 7th? Did I miss that? Okay, I apologize. Thank you. All right, so I'll entertain a motion for 10/7/2020 minutes for approval with the updated spelling of Catherine's name on there.
Second.
So moved.
Moved by Catherine, Commissioner Catherine, and it was seconded, I believe, by Vice Chair Crystal Davis Dunn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. So that goes, I guess that goes for my attempt to kind of make things smoother with the minutes. So I apologize. It didn't work out very, very well like it did by mine. So, all right. So we'll move on to item 2, communications from citizens. We'll start off with item 2.1, written communication from Chris Root, history of East Lansing police complaints. Did everyone get a chance to see that and get a chance to maybe get some feedback or comments from that written communication? I'll just say that, I really appreciated getting this information. It kind of gave me a great background of not really substance, but really how things have been going and the timelines with that. So I appreciate that work that was put in. And this written communication will be a little bit more appropriate for me to kind of talk about when we get down to item 5.1 for me personally. Are there any other commissions that have any comments or feedback for item 2.1?
Well, I'll just say that I agree that we have that kind of as an agenda item. So I think that would be, I'll save my comments for that agenda item as well, Chuck.
Thank you, Commissioner Honey, and thank you for joining us this evening.
And sorry for being late. I could not find the invitation. I swear I had it like open and ready to go like 45 minutes ago when I actually sat down to log on. I don't know. I slept like 2 hours last night. So sorry for my tardiness tonight.
And I think I totally messed up. I was supposed to take care of our council member Ron Bacon and get him moved up here, and I think I just went right by that as far as that him giving him an opportunity to speak because he does have some other things that's going on this evening. So can we jump back for a little bit and go back to what would have been item 1.5 and give Councilmember Bacon an opportunity to address the body, please? Is that okay with you guys? Thank you. I don't think we need a motion for that, and I just apologize. I have it written down here, Councilmember Bacon, and I just, I got caught up with some of my little hiccups. So please feel free to go ahead and address us if you feel like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to, at this point, gain some clarification on the use of force requests. Having gotten some more correspondence on the use of force requests. Have the use of force requests been met? Stuff you've been asking for. From as I've looked back through the records and trying to get a handle on kind of the nexus of all this stuff and how it got to this point in here. All right, the 5 things that came out of your subcommittee, was that correct? From your former chair and the cases that you were wanting to see, the 5, you've been allowed to see 3, 1 without video. There's 2 remaining. Is that the sole outstanding piece of your former request?
No, it's not. So yeah, we were planning on talking about this in item 5.1 as far as committee reports, subcommittee reports. But yes, so where we're at with that, and Vice Chair Davis Dunn and Commissioner Honey, please go ahead and jump in at any time. But we had made a request, and I think it was actually 13 videos that we requested. It was whittled down to 5. And then we presented 2. One of the 2 that was presented was not a video that we even requested as far as our original request. And so we did not see, the request made through our resolution, which goes back all the way from June when council made the official resolution for them to revisit and revise the use of force. And
was it whittled through your subcommittee, or was it whittled through the department?
I was talking. I didn't hear what you asked me. I'm sorry.
Was the subcommittee that worked on this and the list was whittled down via subcommittee because that's part of the notes, or was it all whittled down?
Via the police department. Yes, that is correct. Via the department in the city manager.
Okay. So this was never in subcommittee?
Correct.
So if I understand you correctly, the use of force subcommittee was designed only for us to be able to look at actual video footage and record information. So that was what the subcommittee was consisted of in the use of force request for the videos. And that subcommittee consisted of myself, Vice Chair Davis Dunn, and Commissioner Honey.
That's the nexus of this question. I'm trying to close that. This is prior to that. That's the original subcommittee for this initial question.
That was the original subcommittee. based on the will of the entire HRC that we request, I think we settled on 20 was what we requested actually. Submitted it months and months ago, waited, and then got back the 2 with a time to view them together with the new police captain and the assistant and the deputy. And that's really basically all that happened since that resolution, I think, when did you say that was, Chuck? In June, which was supported by the entire HRC as well as our then liaison, now current Mayor Stevens, who was very supportive of, of this request and of that being a appropriate role for us to play. So yeah, that's my understanding of what has happened so far. And I think you were maybe asking, I don't know if you're asking if we're satisfied, because I'll offer forth my opinion now since we're talking about it, is no, I do not feel at all that met the needs of what our initial mission was. Our mission was to study a number of different videos that, read the police reports, which I did not get a chance to do. Read police reports, look at video footage, and study different use of force incidents so that we could really, have some input and some understanding of how things unfold and areas where there might be a need for greater training, areas when there might be a need for greater education, trends that we might see regarding race, gender, and mental health status, and all of that. So unfortunately, while we very much appreciate the police's willingness to share some videos with us and to watch them with us and give us a platform for discussing them, that's, to me, that's not a done deal. 2 videos and we're done. This is something ongoing that we would like to continue to see happening until such a time that the actual police oversight committee, not the study group, but the police oversight committee, could take that on. So,
per the request, had the limitations been explained to what could be shown? I think the challenge is, because if you set in for 12 and they came back with 5 or whatever else, there were limitations to what could be. Was that explained to the full commission?
No, I don't think so.
No, we haven't really had a chance.
This is Commissioner Carla McWhirter, and that was not explained to the commission.
Yeah, and this is really
full commission.
with all the delays that we've had, this is really our first time of us being able to have something to get back with them on, because we're in a pending status for so long with that. So
I think the tone is that they weren't brought back, but some of the cases that were brought back, the cases involving health and mental health, correct, were the ones that were barred from presentation, along with pending or things with pending litigation and that type of thing. So I think part of the group's feeling like, they're not sharing the things. The list was with X videos. So I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that mental health wasn't for. I mean, actually, the 2 videos that we will watch, I would say both of them had mental health elements to them. I don't remember that being specifically explained. My only understanding was that they said that they couldn't release videos where there was pending litigation. That was my understanding of. Crystal, do you have a different understanding?
Yes, and that understanding, or that was not expressed until we were actually sat down at the table when we found out that we were only going to be able to view 2 videos. And again, that the limitations of why, or the explanation or rationale as to why they did not show the pending videos was contested and still remains contested because of historical trends of them previously releasing videos of 2 pending cases to get ahead of a media storm. And so again, this is a subject matter that has been brought up with various council members and will still go forth. Just for, I believe that more public weigh-in needs to be on that, because there's no policy within from my understanding, that really prohibits them from releasing those videos.
The initial sit-down meeting, when we were in the sit-down meeting, when you got a legal opinion, was there a legal opinion around that came when council was present?
There was no explicit legal opinion given, other than that they, just supported the deputy and the chief decision as to why they didn't feel comfortable releasing them.
Can I back up here just a little bit, just to give you just some context? We had made this request in July, and for the time in July all the way through, I think, mid-September, we were waiting on them to process these videos. And at that time, we were under the understanding that they were compiling these videos. They were redacting all the things that really were HIPAA violations, and going through all the videos that may have been still open and pending. And then we were under the understanding that we were going to get anything and everything that was available to us off those two criteria. With the delays that we had all the way up until just recently, we did not understand that none of that was taking place. And the fact that the only really complication that we really had that really justified the time length, or at least some of it, was that there was a new chief that came on, and the deputy chief, Gonzalez, wanted to kind of talk with him about that and let him understand why we were doing this and where this was going, along with city manager Lahanas. And so that's kind of where we're at. So then we got to the actual meeting, not understanding that we're only going to see 2 videos, and the reasons why we weren't going to see the other ones were because one was a HIPAA violation possibility that which they could have redacted any of those types of things like they've done before, and the other one was for pending cases. And then a lot of the cases, or some of the cases that we asked for, there was no arrest made, there was no charges pending on that. So that other and second reason why they didn't share that didn't really make sense to us when we were there at the meeting, and is to not understanding why they didn't release this information, if that helps.
Yeah, the notes speak to 12 use of force cases, 5 that cannot be released related to mental health incidents, additional 2 cases from that time to pending. That's 7. So there was 5 remaining. You've seen there was 2 that were viewed, 1 that was without video, correct? That was what was presented. So there was 2. So there's 2. There's not 1 outstanding with no video.
No, not that we know of. I mean, all we know is what we got in the meeting that we just had together, Vice Chair Dunn and Commissioner Honey, in regards to, we saw 1 of the 2 videos that we didn't even ask for. They just kind of voluntarily gave us as far as that. And then we had 1 that was associated with our request.
Yeah, I feel that. Because it disconnects somewhere here and where in process or something.
I did talk to Mayor Stevens today in regards to the use of force request, and got him up to speed. For some reason, there was a breakdown in what he had wished for us to do as a body, as the HRC, and then thus as a subcommittee in a request. And I can't really speak for him, but I will say that I got the indication that he was not happy with what the process has been. He didn't understand why. He was going to go figure that out and check in and talk with staff today, from what I'm understanding. I haven't heard back just yet from that, from him in regards to that. But I don't know if you got a chance to talk with them, Councilmember Bacon, today recently about this issue, or this is where some of the questions are coming from. But I did talk with him, and he has a renewed focus in trying to get to the bottom of maybe some of the disconnect with the communication with why we're not able to do what we need to be doing as a body. Vice Chair Dunn.
So, I mean, just to follow up with that, because I too reached out, and I spoke to him just shortly before this meeting. And right now, where it stands is that, based on our ad hoc committee, they're meeting the 3rd Wednesday of the month, that he was wanting to assemble all parties just for a formal meeting so that we could kind of get on the same page, since we're all kind of working towards the same goals, and just trying to figure out how we can meet each other where we are, and set parameters around how we plan on viewing and using the videos. And so I think that is a meeting that's coming in the next week or so, just so that we can gain clarity and find a way to move forward.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is, I don't know, you guys' style's a little different for me. I think it's challenging. and things don't have an end in mind, it's challenging to support, because this is really hard to follow, and to come behind. So I just,
Vice Chair Dave
there's some
Stein.
structure to it, kind of with it, maybe starting with an end in mind. And I understand that I've heard there's 3 different ends here, of what the end is. So.
Matt, I think I don't know if you were able to review the video I sent, or the email I sent last Friday, regarding what our objective is and what our goals are, around the reviewing the use of force and other policies and things around policing. I think that was clearly identified. And so when you say an end in mind, I think we communicated that in that formal meeting, which allowed us to review the videos, and as well as that, what our intentions are. I think, Commissioner Honey pointed out that, again, that we are just hoping to be able to maintain a momentum and be able to refer these things over to the Police Oversight Committee. I think that to delay these issues being addressed would be neglectful and harmful to the progress of the work that's happening throughout the city. And so I think in order to keep the momentum going and to have an effective Police Oversight Committee, these types of things need to be reviewed in order to kind of set some type of standard of assessment or evaluation of like appropriate police conduct, and being able, again, to focus on that positive policing relationship and being able to provide education and training to the general public of what public safety looks like and appropriate behaviors when engaging with officers. So again, I think all those are outlined. I think our objectives are very clear at the end and rationale why we want to do it, and as to like how extent or how far we want to go with it is really until that Police Oversight Committee is in place.
I get it. I guess it would help with a deliverable or whatever you guys are trying to do, and then like what's the structure behind I'm not one to take the position of and then we'll decide what's going on this. I'm usually, it's open-ended, whatever. I'm just trying to understand. Even if we're waiting for videos or doing whatever else, there's a whole other subset of structure that can be built out of what is being. You get my point? I'm not really understanding what you're building. It's not really my place, but I just have better to carry this stuff forward than to do this and that, and so things come in a timely way and that kind of thing, so I can actually support them well. There's a full structure. There's that. The videos would be the end to this other thing you're wanting to do, or a verification of assumption or something else, or that's the part I'm not understanding.
I mean, I'm a little unclear as specifically what you're asking, but from what I understand, the videos is a way of just kind of assessing and just understanding kind of the scope of the need, whether it's around additional training for our officers and education for the public. And so right now it's just, again, it's just kind of exploring what it is, what the issues are and how we can move as a commission to support positive policing and promote positive, community relations with our officers. And I guess I'm a little confused by your confusion, because this is not some random thing that all of a sudden we decided to take charge of. This was something that, again, was initiated by council. Council made a commitment to look at and review and have the HRC help them with the use of force policy that they have tasked us to do. And part of that review is getting data and information, which is very, very important for us to be able to make that assessment of what's going on. And the use of force videos, along with the police reports, is a great tool for us to be able to help council revisit, revise, and make recommendations on the use of force policy.
Now, ultimately, if this use of force focus that we have and the work that we're doing now is going to be transferred to the study commission, that's fine. I don't think anyone on this commission has a problem with that. That's kind of what our expectation is. But the work that we're doing is not getting done. It hasn't been getting done, and there's problems with it. And the problem with it is that the oversight commission that we're going to be developing with the study commission is hopefully going to have something up and running by this time next year. So within that meantime, the HRC, going all the way back to June, has taken upon ourselves, which right now at the subcommittee level is to get information, to understand, to educate ourselves, and then come back to the HRC and move forward with how we help that process.
I got Bird Green. I think you're hearing me wrong. Seeing you went for 20, there was 5 that were viewable, 2 were shown, this, that, and the other. So, okay, that's not enough to make the sample that we need to do the thing. We don't know exactly what we're doing yet. I'm not. Rennie, is it you're not? I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying. There has to be an actual structure and what. Okay, an N of 25 is actually what we need in order to do X. Like that's. I'm not, and I'm supporting. I'm trying to support you here. What the actual utilization. It will help you get this to work. And I'm trying to jack your whole meeting, but that's where we get hung up here.
Go ahead. Can I speak real quick? I do get where you're coming from, Ron, and I think that we would love to have a really totally clear, concise. I mean, I think we're all trying very hard to be very flexible with what's realistic to expect from the police department, right? And so maybe initially asking for 20 videos was too much. We're flexible, right? Like we're willing. And so maybe this meeting that Crystal talked about next week, which I hope you will participate in, we could weed out some of those questions and try to get a little bit more of a narrow focus. I could tell you right now, I think having a couple to review, we want to meet every month. And what we had talked about was every month, every third Wednesday, we will meet, we'll review maybe 2 videos and then report back to the larger HRC at the follow-up meeting. And if we felt like there was something that was pertinent for them to see, we'd share the video with them. I mean, to be honest with you, my initial understanding was not that we would have to view it with the police officers, but that it would be something that would be sent to us. And we could, ask for follow-up or clarification, but something that would require a lot of time and energy from the police department as well, because I understand that's a big commitment to them. So I guess we're still trying to iron out what this is going to look like. But can I just say something about the 2 that we did see, 2 out of however many we had initially requested? We already saw trends, both of them. And really, when you think that these videos that we watched came out really basically right about the same time as the latest killing of a Black man with mental health issues, that could happen in our community. We don't want that to happen in our community. What we saw watching just 2 videos about the response to these 2 people that had, one of them was what you call a frequent flyer, someone that has had multiple mental health calls. And there was no protocol. There was no strategy. I mean, and I'm not saying that we're the experts, but because of the 3 of us and what we bring to the table and our roles as human relations commissioners, we were able to view this through a different lens and not trying to play gotcha and point fingers and say you're doing this wrong, but to say, we want to help you. We already have ideas, and that's what's on the agenda to share with the HRC and to get input from the HRC. I think this is a great opportunity. We're not trying to get anybody in trouble or make anybody look bad. We want a true community policing model, and that requires trust from your community and transparency and all of that. So even though we might not have every detail or, figure it out exactly what the ask is, and I get that, it feels more comfortable when we do. I still contend that this is something important and worthy of our time that I think we should be able to, come to some consensus on. I have a great confidence that we'll be able to come to some consensus and move forward with a regular monthly subcommittee meeting where we're viewing videos regularly, and whether it's 1 or 3 or 4 or whatever's realistic. I'm flexible about that, but I think it's an important role for us to play. And I mean, the reason it's on the agenda is because we want to check out with the greater HRC and make sure there's still full support for this. I have no reason to believe there's not. So I'm really just speaking for myself and a little bit for Crystal and Chuck, because we really did discuss it extensively. So
you hit the nail on the head. The strategy, you know, it'll simplify the strategy and then the process of how it's going to roll into the Police Oversight Commission in a clear, concise way. It's just so loose. That's what's making it difficult. I think you can make all this a lot easier. I get it, but strategy.
Matt asked if you reviewed the document that was sent, and then if from your kind of field or expertise, kind of give examples of a model that works for you, that in a way that how you process and kind of operate. I think that would be helpful because we did identify kind of what our goals would be.
No, I think I'm only around police, the video portion of this. I think that'll make it easier. I'm trying to simplify grease the skids here for you. I think the lack of it's going to be used for X. I get the broad strategy, and thank you for sharing. I mean, just in a really narrow window here, just creating the why, and like you said, because you just threw out a whole different thing. Where we'll watch a couple and talk about it. I mean, that's a lot of different. I think this is important enough that if it's going to be a thing, it needs to be developed.
Well, that's exactly what we were trying to do, but with the resistance, the delays, the lack of cooperation, basically has what we've come up with. What Commissioner Honey just talked about was a compromise. That's not what we want to do. We don't want to do this as an ongoing. Well, originally we didn't want to do this as ongoing basis. We wanted to get a sample of this information, intake it, process it, talk about it, report back, and then again talk with the group about how we can move forward by making a recommendation. I mean, it's not really, this big mystery of what we're doing, and then based off Vice Chair Davis Dunn's email, it really just breaks it all down and gives those narrow whys and the broad perspective of whys.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, please, Commissioner Cannon.
This is Pat Cannon. It's impossible to know what you don't know. And since this is new territory for us in doing this, I think the more we look at those videos, the more we will understand what to expect, what we're looking for, and after that, we can, as we proceed, fine-tune the language that describes what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Cannon. Yes, Commissioner Catherine.
Yes, I'm just a little bit confused, and that's probably because I'm new. So wasn't just the original goal to help with the use of force policy?
Correct.
That's a question.
Yes,
Sure.
correct. Yes, correct.
Okay. So then, in my understanding, the subcommittee would review the videos, would bring discussion to us, and we would try to make a recommendation to say, does the policy exist? That's another question for you, Mr. Chair.
The policy for use of force? Yes, yes. Council has made a commitment to look at the use of force policy and revisit it for which it stands because of, in the last year and a half, we've had some high profile incidences that have made them be aware of possibly revisiting this and making this something a little bit better for the community.
And even if it's not completed, right, or if it's not achieves its final goal, all the materials acquired and the discussions put together throughout this time can still be used for the police oversight committee or its study group, right?
Correct. Yes.
So in that formula, don't we have an end result, a process, and I mean, what is missing from this formula?
I don't really. That'd be a question for Councilmember Bacon because he's trying to still kind of understand that process and for
Councilman Baker, what do you believe is missing from this formula? If the focus and the scope is only to address the use of force policy.
Yeah, but just beyond the video, I think I didn't think that was the end all be all. Are the other prongs of the end being addressed simultaneously? That was my only true question. I see the focus on the videos, and it'll be good to get that to the best of your ability done. Like I said, if they're able to reject from these premise of what's rejected, what other areas can the data or the whatever you're trying to draw down come from? That seems like if that's an impasse or that's difficult based on what's disqualified, what are your other sources, other whatever, what's the other? It seems like a real big
Undertaking.
for on one area to try to pull through this through a straw.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Councilmember Bacon. And just to kind of really let you know from our perspective, what we've always been looking at as overall is incomplete information when it comes to complaints, because things are protected, redacted, human labor laws. When it comes to HIPAA laws and things like that, we've always been very, very limited in being able to do that, because the format has always been difficult to kind of really have a process that would be helpful for us to be able to grow and be able to make these recommendations that we're talking about. And this video opportunity that was backed by our previous liaison saw value in us being able to have another piece of data point, another piece of information to be able to go with, for example, getting a police report that's been heavily redacted in some ways where we don't really have some understanding of some certain things, to put those two pieces together and then make a proper analysis. Yes, Commissioner McWhorter.
Yes, so just as a point of clarification, I believe that we had requested the case reports that went along with these incidents in addition to the videos. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and was the assertion of the chief that these incidents that did involve mental health, or pending litigation, that they were also not willing to release the case reports for those incidents? Am I understanding that correctly?
They weren't, for the two videos that we did see, the case reports were made unavailable, which we were understanding, again, like you said, we were expecting that as well. But as bad as this is to say, and I maybe just speak for myself, I just wanted to get something going. And so we were going in there knowing that it was only going to be 5 videos. But we were at least going to start there. And we were being very flexible and very compliant to some of their concerns. We didn't ask to sit down and take staff time and money away from their regular business to spend 2.5 hours with us to walk us through videos. This is information that can be easily FOIA'd. If I'm just walking on the street and I just had an empty pocketbook, I can go ask for this information. They would have to redact and do everything they do, but ultimately the information is my right as a community member to be able to do that. And so as the body,
Days, I believe. Yeah.
So as a body, it's really unfortunate that we're doing this tug of war thing in something that would be made available anyway, based off a citizen's inquiry.
I have to step
Yeah,
off.
thank you. And that's, this is Commissioner Carla McWhorter. Chuck, I share that concern as well. So just to clarify, so at this point we have, out of everything that we requested, we've got the 2 videos, one of which was unrelated, and we have 0 case reports. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
And we're unclear as to the reason that we have 0 case reports at this point, but we're hoping that we'll get some clarification in the meeting.
It sounds like we're going to have another meeting just to have that conversation again.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have to depart, but last time you guys clearly requested case reports. Was that in the request?
Correct.
And as a body, you've reviewed the existing use of force policy to kind of as a baseline. Has that occurred?
Vice Chair Davis Dunn, please.
I don't know as a commission, but part of the request that I initially made too, because of what is published online, is partially redacted. And so I forward you an email with Commissioner Honey's request of the identified videos and the documentation. This is a copy of it. I forwarded to you. The commission has a copy of it as well. I just sent it to you again, so that information is there as well.
Before you go, Councilmember Bacon, and I say this with passion and heart, that this is the great example of why we need to be doing what we're doing now with this process. Because once we create an oversight commission and have people actually doing their job, we want to have them set up to win. And if we got to go through the painstaking growth process and sharing this information and fighting for this and that, ultimately that's part of the end goal. So when we do have an independent oversight body, that there is a process, there is a path, there is that transparency and trust that represents for that body to be able to say, hey, look, can we look at this video? And we've done the work now today to have a process or a system or a culture within the department that this is okay. It's only going to help us help you. And that's really, this is a great case study of why this is important, because we're working through the growth pain of asked for something that's never been done before.
Thank you for that. I mean, to disrupt the timeline.
Thank you. And I know you got to go, and I appreciate you being patient. And thank you for, I think questions and your willingness to try to understand where we're coming from and why. I know personally, I don't take it personal. I know you're trying to, make sense of it all. And I respect that. But at the same time, we all know what we're doing and why we're doing it and where we want to go with the end result with this. And it is something that we're going to keep working on. And it's something that I think needs to be done. It needs to be done because, again, as I'll always say, is if I was a guy off the street and I walked into the place, I did a FOIA request, it's my stuff, it's mine. And here we are as a body appointed by the council having issues with that. And so when we have this oversight commission down the road, what's the last thing I want them to have to worry about is trying to find and pull and get as less as possible going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Cannon, please go ahead.
I don't want to assume, did we specifically request the police report at the time we requested the video?
That's correct. We did ask for so there's a little bit of language, and this is part of what we want to make sure we start growing in is it case reports? Is it police reports? What is the terminology? But yes, we did have a formal request with the request in getting police reports and or case reports associated with the videos. Because that
overstating the obvious, it would seem that would be essential in order to provide context for what we're seeing on the video.
Absolutely. You just took the words right out of my mouth. And it's a great way to kind of see how cases are being written and then what's on the video. We got a great example of that in our high profile case of Gacito back in February, where the actual report did match up with the video. And I don't know if you guys know that, but the number one reason why convictions are overturned are by falsifying evidence, which is a part of the case report for most people in America. So it's a legitimate request, it's a legitimate concern, it's a legitimate thing that for us to look at, to compare with, and see if there's discrepancies. It's not that difficult to understand what we're doing and why, and for the reasons that we're doing it for and why it's so important. And I apologize. I'm just passionate about this issue because we got work to do. Is there any other comments before we move on in our agenda?
I urge you not to apologize for your passion.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right. I think we got out of order. We just finished up item 1.5, and that was Councilmember Bacon's report back to us. So we'll jump back in line here. We struck 6.1. So I believe that we are at item 2.2 for public comment. And I will entertain a motion to limit public comment to 5 minutes pursuant to MCL 152563 based on our technology format that we're in right now. I didn't hear who moved it.
I second it.
So it was moved by Vice Chair Davis Dunn and seconded by Commissioner Sardar, I believe, correct? I always have a delay with that. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for that. So passed. Justin, thank you for being patient with us. Is there anyone on the line for public comment this evening?
Thanks, Chuck. We do not have anybody in the queue to address the commission at this time.
if someone decides to pop in on there within time frame and we're moving along, please let us know. I know that commissioners really value public comment and some of the different things that we may be talking about. So I just wanted to kind of leave that open in the air for anyone who may be listening in that did not get in as quick as they wanted to do when it comes to our time frame with that. All right, moving on.
Keep you apprised.
Thank you so much, Justin. All right, we're moving to new business item 3.1, HRC complaint procedures and forms. You guys do see that we do have the attachments there. And I just to give you a background on that, we do know we had the name change. We do know we have some different things that are going on. So I thought it was important for us to kind of revisit this as I have emailed some of you in regards to why we should make sure, if anything, just make sure that maybe the newer commissioners who maybe haven't seen this before. I know we worked on this, I think, last September quite a bit. So some of the commissioners are probably abreast to the situation of what this form is and what it's about. So the only thing that I would say is just updating it from the human relations to the human rights and some of the different things on there. I'm very happy with the overall document and the language in there and the process that we have for that. But I will open it up to the body of the commission if there's anything more that you may want to suggest or emphasize when it comes to this form. Everyone's happy with it. Okay. Oh, there, Commissioner Catherine, and then Vice Chair Davis Dunn.
I just have a technical question. When a sworn or written statement, does it need to be like stamped or signed, or what constitutes a sworn document?
Yes, please, Mrs. Newman.
So, yeah, this is Shelley Newman. So, yes, we do have it notarized by a notary.
Oh, okay. That's all.
Yes, Vice Chair Davis Dunn, please go ahead.
So I actually wanted to entertain a motion to kind of table any edits or further review of the complaint process. Like from what I got from the email prior to the agenda being set, was that there was hopes of maybe amending it to include complaints against officers or police, and even to that regard, I think for me, at least, just in how it's been presented in the binder, that it's unclear of actually what our authority is or enforcement. And I think it would be helpful in our next meeting to kind of review that with the city attorney to understand what our scope is, or with regards to moving forward a complaint and any recommendations or revocations that we can enforce.
So there's a motion that you want to table this discussion in regards to updating or revising this packet of form. I just got a follow-up question. It doesn't sound like we have really anything major except for just maybe changing the language as far as the title on there. And I definitely think it would be definitely appropriate to have it on the next agenda as well when we do have that discussion with council and trying to see what our limitations are, or really what we can do when we do have a complaint and follow up with that. Is there a second to Vice Chair Davis has done motion to table this item 2.1, 3.1 for our next meeting, not even our next meeting in December, in regards to a new business item that we'll have, and we'll be discussing some of our mandates, some of our powers when it comes to our body as HRC.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Honey. Is there any more discussion in regards to that tabling? Commissioner Catherine?
I just have a question. So when we bring it up in the next meeting, is that when we're supposed to become with suggestions for improvement? I'm confused as to we're tabling to take some time to really think about it and come up with some improvements. Is that the goal?
That's correct. Really, the goal was when I threw it on the agenda when you received it last week was to come in with those suggestions and look at that information and then talk about today. But as you guys know, Vice Chair Davis Dunn thinks it's a little bit more appropriate, which I do agree, is to maybe table in this. So then when we do understand kind of really some more about what we need to be doing, that might be helpful for those changes.
So just to follow up on that question, during this time, if we have questions about it, do we just direct them to Shelley, to you, to Councilman Bacon? Because I don't know, a lot of the things that I'm, might suggest or might think of could stem from my lack of understanding of how the process works.
Yeah. So it'd probably be appropriate to send it directly to Shelley so she can start, just in case there are a couple of other commissioners that have inferences or questions. That way it's going to one source. You can CC me in, but you don't have to. But that would probably be the appropriate process, just in case she needs to resend everything out to everyone else in regards to that communication.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Commissioner.
To me, Chuck, I was just saying that makes sense because to me, I may want to know the question and also know the response, so y'all will want to accord. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Tyler. Vice Chair Davis Dunn, please go ahead.
I mean, I ditto that, but I also feel like it would be helpful for us to actually, as a commission, go through and read the ordinance and the language in the complaint process if it has not already been done, so that we can work through it as a commission. And as well as review the actual complaint process form. Just because I don't know how much time everyone has outside of this, or just so that we can be able to have conversation as a team, because we need to be able to effectively utilize the time we have a council in order to understand the limitations. And so I guess it's fine if we individually comb through it, but just trying to at least limit any confusion that could be worked out with the city staff, like with through Shelley or someone else, and then be able to talk about any legal limitations or enforcement that we may have.
Thank you, Vice Chair Davis Dunn. Yeah, I don't know if I could say that everyone on this commission knows that ordinance and knows the complaint process through and through. In regards to that, it's been changed recently, and so one of the main things that we're planning on doing, just to kind of speak freely, is that in December we're going to have council come in and talk to us about what we can and can't do, how far we can go when it comes to advocating for some of the different things that come across our table. So, for example, the Gacito case, we did a lot for that mission, that cause, and you guys know what I'm talking about. Get those charges dropped, having special meetings, just really coming in and speaking publicly and really advocating for that. But we want to know what we could have done better. We want to know what we could have done more. We want to know what we can do. So unfortunately, when we're in this situation again, we can take it a step further if in fact we do have that understanding based on what we'll get next month. So this is really why it's important for us to really make sure that we at least review certain things that are given out in your packet, so you're prepared to be able to kind of at least kind of basically understand ultimately what we want to get to, because we are building, each meeting is building on top of the next meeting. And so when we have this meeting next month, it's very, very important for us to come in there and utilize the city attorney's time in a way that's really, really effective, so we all walk away a little bit stronger in regards to why we're all sitting in these chairs. Yes, Commissioner McWhorter, please go ahead.
Thank you. So Chuck, thank you. I appreciate the clarity in terms of what the intent was in adding this to the agenda. I think I'm probably the only commission member still present who was a part of the commission that actually rewrote this the last time. So I'm probably the only one who's been through this process already.
Pat and I were as well.
You were, okay. Thank you. Okay, my apologies. But yeah, I mean,
we were very quiet.
My apologies.
Got him.
but yeah, I mean, I think these bigger questions about the limits of our mandate, and how police brutality or use of force incidents fits into that until this new body is ultimately created. I think clarifying that is something that probably needs to happen before we figure out what edits we might need to make to this form, just because I feel like that's going to inform what sort of information we're including and what sort of questions we're asking. Does that make sense?
It does, Commissioner McWhorter, and we appreciate that, and we know that some of you, especially you three, have been doing this for the longest, and you did a lot of great work in the past, and we're just really want to compliment that work and get it right. And so I'm glad that we are in discussion about this and looking forward to maybe having this be something that we improve upon. Is there any more discussion in regards to tabling item 3.1 for our next meeting?
We're just tabling it till the next meeting, correct?
That's correct, Commissioner Cannon. Commissioner Catherine, please go ahead.
So will the attorney and the council be here? I just wanted to make sure.
We'll have the city attorney or a representative of the city attorney's office, and we'll have our liaison, hopefully Ron Bacon.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Is that kind of how we're going to do it, Shelley? Okay, so that's kind of how we're going to do it.
Yep, you're exactly right. I'm extending the invitation and identifying the attorney.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any other discussion or questions in regards to tabling item 3.1? All those in favor, please go ahead.
This is just picky, but my recollection is from the old days when we were strict about Robert's Rules of Order, that tabling something was usually for a date specific or a particular reason. Does that sound familiar to you, Shelley, or not so much?
I'm not. It sounds kind of familiar, Pat. I know that you shouldn't table something indefinitely.
Yeah.
It's to return. So it sounds like I agree. I think that the appropriate step is to hear what the attorney says, he or she, to give us some parameters, right, and then be able to respond to that. So perhaps with that in mind, Crystal, did you want to reframe it a bit?
Just defer for the conversation until
In the date?
The next meeting, right?
Yeah, which 3rd, I believe.
So it's December 3rd. Is that the next meeting?
Let me
So
double
I
check.
guess,
Let me double check.
Admin to make an emotion to table agenda item 3.1 for
It's-
further discussion until December 3rd meeting, December 2nd meeting.
Yes. Is there a second to Vice Chair Davis Dunn's motion?
okay.
Seconded by Commissioner Cannon, Pat Cannon. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to tabling? All right, so passed. All right, we'll go ahead and move that to the December 2nd, item 3.1, complaint procedure forms and the discussion of that. For item 3.2, we do have a discussion in the strengths and weaknesses of that's what I have. I have strengths and weaknesses that Commissioner Catherine brought to the table. Can you expand upon that, Commissioner?
Yeah. This is Commissioner Catherine. I just wanted to. So it's part of the report from the subcommittee on what was it named? The changes to our ordinance.
Ordinance review subcommittee.
Yes, ordinance review subcommittee. In an informal way, Vice Chair Crystal Davis Dunn and I talked about how do we proceed with kind of gathering some more information and helping this commission succeed and putting in any kind of structure or any guidelines to help the commission flourish and succeed, and especially to prevent any initiatives from falling through the cracks or getting lost because of different and competing priorities.
Am I frozen or is she frozen?
She's frozen.
I don't know if you can hear us, Commissioner Catherine, that you are frozen and we can't hear you right now.
So because of that, and can you hear me? No. Can you hear me?
You're back now.
She's frozen out. I mean.
You're frozen again, Commissioner Catherine, just to kind of let you know if you are hearing us. Go ahead, Vice Chair Davis Dunn.
Me now?
Yeah, go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yes, that's all I wanted to say. And being that we are the newest commissioners, we wanted to rely on your expertise and experience of what has been gone, what were the strengths and weaknesses of the commission when it was able to put some resolution forward, an initiative forward, what was the best process that went through, and then how can we replicate that in our future efforts?
You broke up with how you're asking that, and what I think you understand is what worked in the past and what didn't work in the past. I think and I'll just talk and I'll shut up here in a second, but I think really a great process that we just had was working on Ordinance 1491, disorderly conduct. We got that sit down from us by council. We all looked at that packet of information before we had our actual meeting. Everyone who participated in that discussion came prepared and really taking that information before our meeting very, very seriously and making the proper recommendations and advice to the changes that we wanted to have on that. And so then when we got to the meeting, which actually was my very first meeting as a chair, we went through that thing and rocked it out. I heard from a couple of council members who watched our meeting said that we did such a fantastic job going through that and just really hammering things out, really coming collectively on what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And we got it through in one meeting. And when we sent it up to council, and I say this respectfully, we sent it up to council, I don't know if they were as prepared as we were when we got into our meeting ready to just kind of really make these changes, do what we got to do, and push this thing forward and through. And so then it ended up coming back down, and we're having more discussion about that in subsequent meetings and really talked about some of the changes that we had made going forward. So I think that was one great example of how we had a strength in what we did based on being prepared for the opportunity. I think a weakness that I'll just say real quickly is, unfortunately, sometimes, we have lives outside of this commission. We have things going on, and sometimes you don't get a chance to really go through everything thoroughly. And that's just life and what it is. And people have to make these adjustments, and people are on other commissions and boards. So I think that's always going to be a weakness that we have, because we're volunteers and we're doing the best we can with what we got. And so that would be my only thing to say to your question. I would open it up to any commissioners who would.
This is Commissioner Miller. I would add that, reflecting anytime, I think it happens, multiple times a year that we receive something from council to review and give feedback on or approve or make a recommendation on. I agree with Chuck that was a great example, and I think consistently that's a really good process of that collaboration or responding to council when they send us stuff. I think the times when we have created some regularity in the year, so it's like every January we're meeting with the police chief. Every spring we're holding a community event. When we were doing sort of the coffee things, they're once a month. So anytime something like becomes a part of a larger calendar and we are anticipating it and working towards it, that has been very successful. If it's something from that or is the idea that's thrown out but isn't really concretely either planned out or put into the calendar, it tends to drift away. some of our record keeping in terms of issues that are I think we saw this with the police complaint process and use of force history. Our record keeping in history from meeting to meeting, when there are issues that carry across different meetings, maybe we get different pieces of it in different meetings, telling that larger story, keeping that history as a commission and passing it on to new folks, or even just reminding ourselves of here's the timeline, is very hit or miss for us, and I think we lose stamina that way, or because of that, and just some of that continuity and consistency of we lose momentum is the word I was looking for.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller, and yes, Commissioner Tyler.
Yeah, so Chuck, I appreciate your comment. I do think that when we send communication out, regardless of what it is, that we maybe just send a note in terms of importance, level of importance, because you mentioned that we all are busy, right? Just thinking about myself, I spend at least 8 hours a day on Zoom. So when it comes here, we all here because we care, right? So let us know, the importance of things that we see. And also, again, I think it's important for us to have community and also encourage each other as well, because we are dealing with times of uncertainty too, as we move forward and dealing with respective issues. So I'm being, participating on these calls too. So I just want to add that.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyler, and I would second that, and I appreciate those comments. Commissioner Sardar, did you want to weigh in on the discussion at all? Your thoughts?
Nothing in particular.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think we all have our limitations. One of the things I think could be viewed as a weakness is really burnout. And even though we're here and we want to be here, I always want to make sure that, at least since I've been chair, is to really have specific things that we can focus on, and have something that builds each meeting to the common goal of what we're doing for. And I think for me, I think that helps our momentum and keeps us going, keeps us committed to some of the different things. And I think as you guys have saw, I did reach out to all of you independently in a way to get your input on the agenda items. I don't think that was kind of really the process before. I'd like to do this thing as a consistent basis, and I really like to hear and understand what you guys think are important things that we need to focus on top of the things that are presented to you going forward. So I just want to make sure that is very, very open, and I'm always there for a phone call or email. I'm sure Vice Chair Davis Dunn is as well, to having those types of dialogues with each and every commissioner member on here. Commissioner Davis Dunn, please, or excuse me, Vice Chair Davis Dunn, please go ahead.
I guess for me, after meetings and it would, the dynamics of this group works well.
Crystal, can you get closer to the mic? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Sorry. I was just saying that just highlighting or identifying some strengths and weaknesses for me is just that I was just saying that I appreciate the diversity of this group and everything that people bring to the table and how we are able to work through and get things done. But something I feel like is needed for me is just again, more structure. So with regards to Commissioner Miller's comment around really capturing the history and being able to pass that on to new commissioners, or revisit things that kind of get tabled or dropped and picked up again, and as well as Commissioner Levy's remarks regarding just kind of priority of things that we should be focusing on, how we're determining those decisions and correspondence. I don't know if there's any uniformity around that. And so I would, like to kind of identify some type of protocols around how we are communicating as a group. I know some of that was kind of discussed in the training that we had with the Open Meetings Act, as well as kind of where we are capturing the work that we're doing. It would have been nice to be able to see the original draft of the study committee that was sent before council. There has been a lot of like miscommunication as to kind of how that came about, and I've tried to comb through the minutes, and I know that some of that information wasn't captured in the new system that's online. But yeah, just like some more structure on how we're capturing what it is that we're doing and how we are communicating, so that I don't feel fatigued having to comb through a lot of emails or like privately email everyone and then have just kind of distorted communication. So.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dunn. And if I may follow up with that, part of what I think may be helpful is maybe looking into maybe having a form of data retention, where the work we're doing, the resolutions we're passing, the stuff that comes across our desk that we're working on and get through, somewhere maybe on the public website or something like that, we start having that be submitted to the community, number one, which is the most important thing, but also, like, for example, new commissioners coming in. I know Vice Chair Dunn and I had several conversations about, so what you do and why'd you do it and where'd you do it and how did it come from? And some of the answers I had, some of them I didn't. And I think if we started having this data retention on some of the different things that we're doing and a place to go to pull that information, I think it would really be helpful for the growth and continued growth from everyone on this commission. So I really appreciate that input. Is there any more discussion on item 3.2? Yes, Commissioner Sartor, please go ahead.
So, for example, I sent you a suggestion that we send out a notice on behalf of the HRC encouraging voting. So I don't know what kind of protocol we can have for any issuing out any statement that does not require a discussion or a quorum for HRC to meet as a whole. I mean, it could be like a friendly note that's sent out in the name of HRC. Like, I felt bad that the city of East Lansing, the clerk's department, they put in so much effort with the new satellite office that they set up. I really wish there was more traffic trickling in there. It was such a convenient facility for the citizens to go and vote. So for something like that, it would have been helpful if we as HRC just make some buzz about it. So I don't know if the Open Meetings Act will preclude us from issuing a statement, like a friendly press release, so to speak.
Yes, before you go, Vice Chair Dunn, I know we had previous, if I'm wrong, but we had a discussion at one point in time, and I believe it was at our special meeting that we had for the CETO situation, and it was about possibly entertaining a website or a place in our city website in a way where, for example, the voting notice that you wanted to kind of really make the public aware and where to go and all that kind of stuff, Commissioner Sartor, that was available to you. I remember having a discussion about that and we entertained that, but you have to understand we did get derailed with that case, and then we got the COVID-19 pandemic, so we did kind of get away from that. But I know at least some of the commissioners were interested in exploring that. I know I was. Vice Chair Davis Dunn, please go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I just wanted to follow up Commissioner Sartor's like kind of concerns, and I don't even know this information. Like, I mean, I know we have a website, but who's responsible for publishing things on behalf of us? And again, how can we get communications out to the public, as well as do we have a social media page? Who operates that? Can we have a city email? So it's and I think too, like for me, like in other commissions and stuff that I've said on, like outside of just having, we have actual officer positions, not just a vice chair and chair. Like we have a secretary, we have treasurer, we have a communication, specialist. We have all these different people with different roles, kind of fulfilling them, and subcommittees around that to support. And so,
Shelley, did you want to weigh in on that comment?
Yeah, Crystal, those are all really good questions, and those are questions that we answer pretty regularly in this forum. And I hear what Dawson's saying too, and Chuck, we've had a lot of these conversations, and then we get new members and kind of need to re-educate, but it does take time, and there isn't a central place. That is the real challenge, to get information. Liz probably knows who runs the city website and what we as the HRC can do, because she's been here a long time and it's come up 3 times. But yeah, I totally get the challenge. I'm open to suggestions on centralizing information. It's hard.
Yeah. So please, Commissioner Cannon, go ahead.
There's 1 or 2 monthly letters that come out from the city of East Lansing. One follows the city council business and other interesting things going on. If we have things we wanted to share with the community, is that the kind of vehicle that we could tag on to or be part of?
So one of them's right. You're exactly right. A city council summary. So that comes up usually on Thursday after a city council meeting.
Is there another newsletter too that comes out with a different purpose as well? Maybe that's from the city manager. I'm not sure.
The city manager has a message within that publication that you're referring to.
Yeah, I think so.
So
maybe he's referring to the dialogue show.
The dialogue.
Yeah.
Which is quarterly, perhaps now. It's changed, I know. So our communications department is the one that actually handles communication for commissions as well in publications and social media. And we had tried to increase our presence because this group wanted to. So, we've tried to elevate things on Facebook through the city. They have an Instagram account, those types of things. We have 2 people in our communications department. So they're lean and extremely busy, but they're very cooperative and helpful. So if we come up with new ideas, they usually implement them for us.
Thank you. So not everything we do is going to be suitable for necessarily warrant inclusion in that document. There may be some things like publicizing our coffee conversation that we did.
Yep, I think we did a pretty good job of that.
Yes, we did.
Some press on that too. So yeah.
Vice Chair Davis Dunn.
And I do want to just say, like, part of this dialogue is for us to kind of figure out how can we construct some type of guidelines or reference document for the commission, so that we don't have to keep revisiting this. So I wonder if it's worthwhile if you can extend the invitation to Shelley or someone else that can maybe kind of help us work through what is already existing, so that we don't have to create it, so that we can capture it and document. And that's kind of what our goals are.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dunn. Any more discussion on item 3.2 before we move on? Yes, Commissioner Catherine.
I do have a last question for the commissioners that have been here for longer about the subcommittee process and how, if they view that as something successful, or is it more successful when one person takes time outside, or in the initiatives that have been successful, what was the process within the commission that made it successful?
I wouldn't be. I don't think I'm considered one of the older members. I think that question is going to be for Commissioner Cannon and Commissioner Miller and Commissioner McWhorter.
I think it depends on. I don't think that there's been one. I think that universally successful. I think that subcommittees have been good for things that really need some more in-depth conversation, or if we're creating a new event that benefits from a smaller group, brainstorming, planning, thinking through something. Sometimes it's really helpful for accountability. And yes, but sometimes if it's something that somebody on the commission was an attorney, so they said, I will take this and make edits and make the first draft and present that to the commission. So it really just depends.
I agree with that. I know it sounds like an attorney's response, but I think the kinds of outreach we did was dependent upon often one commissioner raising an idea that got kind of excited about it and wanted to run with it, and maybe bring along another commissioner to help the project. And that's probably the way a lot of committees and subcommittees work. It's not formalized, but it's worked in the past.
Vice Chair Davis Dunn.
And I guess just a follow-up question, and just out of curiosity, is it helpful, or I wonder if the commission prefers just more flexibility in types of initiatives and things that we take on, or would it be helpful to kind of have like a strategic vision and like kind of yearly focus? I think our tasking, so we are not, things don't fall through the weeds, or that we're not just kind of spreading ourselves too thin with taking on so many different types of activities.
So about a year ago, I think it was just a year ago, we went through a strategic planning process and had someone from the city come in and work with us and really talk about strengths, goals, focus. And I would say one thing that came out of that should be no surprise to anyone here, was that partly because this is a group that comes with people with a lot of different passions and interests, that was really broad. And it was like, keep trying to narrow us in. And it's hard because I think this is the nature of city commissions, that unless they are very specific in their scope from the city, but for this one, it changes depending on whose interests are in the room and who brings the passion or who notices something in the community, the needs in the community change. So there is a document around that, and there are goals from that. So.
Thank you for that background, Commissioner Miller. We love the old experience we have on this commission, and you guys have been doing this for a long period of time, and it's very valuable. Yes, we need to move on our agenda, but please go ahead, Vice Chair Davis Dunn.
This is my final. I don't know if anyone has that document. You do? Okay.
Absolutely. Yep, I'll send it to the group actually, and it's probably more than a year old, Liz. Time flies, right?
Yeah, right. I'm looking at a copy. It's February 2019 is the date on it, so.
Almost 2, yeah.
All right, thank you. I think we're concluding our discussion on item 3.2. Thank you, Commissioner Catherine, for having that discussion. I think we all saw value in that discussion, so we appreciate that. All right, moving to item 4.1, old business. We have the Ordinance 1491 update, disorderly conduct. Vice Chair Davis Dunn and I have worked on this outside of what we've done with the request of council to really get it right and work on this in some independent meetings with the city attorney, city manager, the mayor, our liaison, Deputy Chief Gonzalez, and Chief Johnson. And so I think we met twice. I think Vice Chair Dunn, I think Vice Chair Dunn is going to give us just a very brief update on kind of really what we did and where it's at, and the process of what we did.
So currently we are just waiting for the final draft to come from the city attorney. And just to kind of briefly go over it, I don't know if you guys watched a kind of contentious council meeting where I was like, no, like really advocating for the changes that we kind of adopted as a commission. And just to kind of let you know where we are on some of those, like for item number 1, that we reserved it, but it was I guess re-implemented, or I don't know the correct word I'm looking for. And the reason for that, it was because it was a both in. I know our hesitation around that was that, it seemed like they were trying to criminalize being intoxicated, which is not illegal, but the behavior requires that someone be intoxicated and disorderly or exhibit certain behavior. So that was one thing that did not stick. And then item number 7, which we kind of was working on around costume. And so we had amended for physically, and that was changed to willfully. I think those are just something really notable. And then item number 18, which addressed, sorry, the resist and obstruct an officer from their lawful duties. This was something that the city and the staff did not support, and the attorney did not support, with being removed from the language. Even though I fought really hard for it, but reason being is that the state law is a state law that makes it illegal to resist the officer, and by the mere act of resisting alone, it could at that point become criminal, to the point of when you are engaging with the officer, whether the officer has, any probable cause to interact with you. And so, to that regard, to resist to remain in our local ordinance, it would be the whole concept of Councilman Babcock stating a misdemeanor, that it would be beneficial for someone to be charged under a local ordinance, which is a misdemeanor, versus the state law, which is felony. So other than that, the rest of the recommendations that we had made, they were all in support of. So again, we're just waiting for the final draft.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dunn. I couldn't have done it better. And I just want to say, I want to acknowledge Vice Chair Davis Dunn. She really stepped up and really wanted to get this ordinance right to the best of her ability. And it wasn't an easy process. I was involved with that. And I do want to track back, because I want to acknowledge also Mrs. Elaine Hardy, who was also in those meetings and was a part of that process, and gave her time in on that. Did you want to add anything, Mrs. Hardy, to that update on the disorderly conduct?
No, I think our vice chair succinctly summed up a 3-hour meeting.
Thank you. Well, we met for 3 hours, then we met for another 2 hours, didn't we? Okay, so 5. Give us our credit now. We have 5 up in that thing now. All right, thank you. So let's move on to, if there's more discussion or any more follow-up questions from any other commissioners, we'll move on. All right, we're going to move to item 4.2, community outreach events. We had a very successful outreach event via Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Cannon, Commissioner Honey, and revolving around the Disability Acts conversation. Is that the best way to appropriately say that? Which was very, very successful. Prior to that, as some of you know, most of you know, we had coffee and conversations, and that was very successful with having us have access to community having access to us. But obviously, with COVID-19, we kind of had to really pause in a lot of what we're doing and how we do it. And I guess I just want to open it up. We are approaching the end of the year. I know we do have some major things on our agenda, and I was curious to see if anyone's interested in possibly doing another community event, hopefully by the end of the year. I know we got holiday season coming up, and I just wanted to kind of open that up to the commission to see if that was something that we want to entertain. And if we do, what would you like to kind of really focus on if that's the case? Okay. Commissioner Catherine, please go ahead.
This falls into the scope of our work, but if, in the spirit of human rights and improvement of human relations, I think we could do something virtual to help, in a sense, to combat loneliness. That being a thing in our community right now, or the lack of sense of neighborliness, or the increased amount of social distancing and fear and polarization from the election. So I don't know if there's anything that we could do to combat or promote neighborliness in a social distancing, COVID safe way.
Yeah, you know, and I'm just talking freely here with you based on what you said. You know, I know with our situation that a lot of people are suffering right now with mental health issues in regards to the restrictions, and a lot of young people who are generally outside the home are getting exposed to some issues within the home and some different things like that. And I know the loneliness part is what you said, but that kind of came up when you were talking, and I don't know how realistic that is to get that wrapped up around maybe by the end of January. But it's definitely something in addition to what you're saying that maybe we could start entertaining as a possibility at sometime in the near future. I don't know, but I'm just talking freely. Anyone else want to weigh in?
Yeah, Chuck, I agree. I think also, again, just understanding, the current climate, but also, people working and juggling multiple responsibilities. I think it's important to continue to reflect and provide some support in that area too. Especially folks that work in isolated situations too. So to provide, areas where people can meet people, I think that's very important.
So if I can follow up with, and shoot me down if I'm wrong, but are you saying that maybe possibly entertain a format where people can kind of come in and have conversation with us and, what's going on in the community, or are you talking about something a little bit different than that?
No, to me, it's both and. I think that would be great. Discuss current issues, but also, to find receive a support system.
I'm liking.
I wonder if it's an opportunity to maybe bring in a facilitator. Maybe there's some groups that are focused on that kind of like healing circles, and so maybe can offer some dialogue or suggestions on ways that in this time that we can support one another, or kind of things that we can do. I wonder if I don't know if we have funding for that, or if something that we can do to maybe bring in someone, or something we can kind of brainstorm as a commission, and even with the holidays coming up. But I don't know. I don't have a per se a solution for it, but I support the idea.
I know that Vice Chair Davis Dunn and I participated in a webinar event that really was well done, where it was really, really involved in discussion and participationary types of things, where it really was really impactful. Unfortunately, I didn't get as much as I could because I was one of the facilitators, and Vice Chair Davis Dunn had to walk me through a lot of different things that we were doing because it was her deal. But I don't know kind of really how much flexibility we have with a format like that, with, the OMA and some of the different things when it comes to that. So I guess I would have to understand more, Shelley, if we have flexibility with being able to do those types of things, or does it come back to more the format that Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Honey and Commissioner Cannon did, and just kind of really having it just where we're just talking and there's not as much interaction?
I believe we have some capability to do breakout rooms. Justin, do you know that?
I am looking at the settings right now. I know that Zoom just introduced some updates to breakout rooms. I just don't know if we have access to that on our plan.
Okay. That's good. I guess to kind of really wrap this up, because I don't think we're going to come up with anything tonight, but I really would please, Commissioner Miller, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just want to say, so things that we have sponsored entirely on our own, because not a ton of people are engaged or looking for events from the HRC. So things that have been driven by us have been fairly low attendance. And if we were thinking about doing something that is more interactive, we've had best success partnering with another either organization or the library, or part of the city that has a stronger base, especially event base, so people are looking to them, and then we're co-sponsoring it. So I would just as we think about, because I think that's a really cool topic or idea, who might we partner with, that, and also sometimes they have funding that that is easier to access to. So.
Thank you. That's very valuable, experienced input, Commissioner Miller. Please, Vice Chair Dunn, and we would try to move on from this discussion. And then Commissioner Cannon, please go ahead.
I yield, Commissioner Cannon.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Please go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner Cannon.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I have a question first for Shelley. I know the city has lots of boards and commissions. Is there a senior commission part of the city structure?
Yes.
There is?
Yes.
That might be an entity to partner with on some activities like that. I've been fortunate to represent the Human Relations Committee and the Human Rights Commission with the age-friendly work group that has been working for a couple of years. And the goal was to create an age-friendly community. This was an initiative that was launched by AARP, and they were looking for municipalities around the country that wanted to create an age-friendly community that would make seniors want to be there, want to participate there, want to relocate there. And we did a very lengthy report that was submitted to East Lansing City Council in February of this year. And there is a section that deals with trying to address the issues of loneliness. And Shelley, that may be a report that you might get from the city council or from Emily and share it with commissioners on email. But that's a thought. It has lots of ideas on how to address loneliness.
Thank you, Commissioner Cannon. And I did see in the chat flash that currently, as we speak, we don't have breakout room sessions via this platform. So we would have to kind of explore and be a little more flexible, or maybe ask for some cash to be able to do something like that, as well as facilitation. I think on top of what Commissioner Cannon has said too, I think maybe we can process this and maybe come back with some stronger ideas or well thought out ideas in our next meeting, and maybe address this in old business to see if there's something that we can start working on collectively within the holiday season, within all the other stuff, possibly going into the following year, starting off with a bang with that, and then subsequently building off that as we go along. That sound okay? Generally, kind of? Okay. All right. We're going to move on, if that's okay with you guys. We are going to go to item 5.1, committee reports. The first one is use of force subcommittee. We kind of really dove into that with item 1.5 with Councilman Bacon, and kind of where we're at with that. I think we've had some great discussion based on what we've already said. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Commissioner Honey or Vice Chair Dunn, Davis Dunn?
Well, I really just wanted to take the temperature of the rest of the commission. It sounded to me, based on people's responses, that people are still feeling this is a worthy cause and wanting us to push forward on this. I will just say what I just kind of hinted at. Watching these videos was, doing it over again. We should have had better use of our time, because we watched the first video and spent way too much time discussing it, and didn't leave enough time for the second video. But so much stood out, and like I said, I do not see our role as watching this and then being the experts and telling the cops this is what you should have done at all. I just, what I want to get out of there is saying, wow, look at these themes. Both of the two videos that we did happen to watch had very, very agitated individuals that, from, the perspective of Chuck and myself and Crystal and I are both in a, mental health field. We recognize very, very clearly that both of these suspects, for lack of a better word, were suffering with different mental health issues, and could have greatly benefited from some verbal de-escalation skills from the police officers. It gave me a lot to think about. One of the things I just want to throw out there that I threw out to the police chief when we were meeting very briefly was in Lansing, the Delta branch of the Lansing Police Department program that I want to learn more about. But when they have regular folks that are regular with mental illnesses that are regularly getting a police called on them, they know who these folks are, and they have the same police officers respond to them, so it's not threatening. They have a whole protocol. You take this very seriously. You know, that was something that I think we all thought, wow, this guy has had the police called on it 3 or 4 times for mental health crises, but it's a different person that shows up. The other thing was that there was it six uniformed professionals showed up for this one person so much was escalated that didn't have to be. All I'm saying is that we got so much valuable information out of watching these videos through our lens, and this is why I feel so strongly that we're going to continue to push to make this happen. I don't want to let this go, because I think that we have a lot to gain from having the chance to make this a more regular thing, where we're watching a couple videos whatever we settle on, and I think the mental health piece is going to be a big, big part of it. So that's my reflections on the videos that we did see, and also just bringing in the whole HRC, because you all are, this is certainly not something that I think is just Crystal and Chuck and my, I think it should go back to the whole HRC for thoughts and ideas and reflections and all of that. And isn't that what we talked about, you guys, is that we're going to, build that into the agenda so that we have a chance to summarize the videos we saw, or forward some of the police report or stuff that we think is relevant, and get input from everybody else. So I guess I'm just trying to make sure that this is still something that's a priority to people.
Is there anyone who doesn't see value in us going further with the use of force subcommittee and the agenda that was laid out via the email and what we've discussed in item 1.5 today already? All right. Vice Chair Dunn, please go ahead.
I'm not sure if the entire council got the copy of the overview that I typed up, and so I just I can send that out if you guys want to review it, and definitely make it a part of our minutes, so we're all on one accord. And that's all I just kind of want to add. I don't know if everyone saw it, but
thank you, Vice Chair Davis Dunn. Can you send that to Shelley, and then she will get that all out to everyone appropriately, please, if you wasn't planning on doing that already. I know you were part of the discussion in the meeting as well. Mrs. Hardy, did you want to add anything to that conversation, or what you got from that? Or are you good?
I don't think I have anything to add.
Okay.
I think that my interpretation of Councilmember Bacon's questioning is because I know he wants to be a support to this group and to kind of keep snow under your skis. I think that kind of talking about the end product, and you did that a little bit of of what the HRC hopes to gain through this police video review. I think it's so much more helpful for me, and probably for Ron, to kind of be able to structure the time of staff and HRC members so that you can get the product that you want. And I think I probably said that at the meeting when we were meeting. My hope is that whatever is the final product of the review from the police video, is that's what we're working towards. So that's all. So I just want to be a resource and to support your fact finding, and I would like to try to do it in a way that we can get the best information that we can. That's all.
Thank you, Mrs. Hardy. We're going to move on. I think we spent a lot of time on this already, and I appreciate that. And thank you for the subcommittee members who have been working on this with myself. Item 5.2, Ordinance Review Subcommittee. I believe that's Commissioner Catherine and Vice Chair Davis Dunn. Did you guys have anything you wanted to update us on?
know other than we're in the planning stage. So right now, like we're just kind of assessing the need, so that we can clearly identify, you know, the aim of of the direction that we want to take.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone that participated in the discussion and gave us some input. And if you have any other thoughts of the strengths and weaknesses, or the any success stories of the commission so far, you want to try to create guidelines or best practices to replicate them as well and as often as possible.
Thank you, Commissioners and Vice Chair. We'll move on to item 5.3 in regards to the Youth Summit Subcommittee. I know that we haven't met or had any discussion just based off the pandemic and everything, and that was planning on being an in-person deal. So there's no, unless the commissioners, Commissioner McWhorter or Commissioner Honey had something they wanted to add or thoughts or ideas, maybe in a different format on that. I don't know. All right, we'll move on to item 5.4, Study Committee on Independent Police Oversight Commission update. Without going all over the place with what we've been talking about, one of the most important things that had happened just recently in our last meeting, and I'll ask Commissioner Tyler to weigh in too on what his updates are, but we really got a chance to really see some data points, some data information that is, again, we just didn't have access to be able to understand some trends and some of the issues that are existing within our public safety officials and how they go about their policies and procedures. We saw, as you may have saw in the, if you did see the meeting, Deputy Chief Gonzalez gave us a presentation that really has some disturbing, alarming disparities with African Americans arrest rates and contact compared to the population of East Lansing, along with some other different things in there. It's going to be a great format for us to be able to then, like we were talking about this use of force stuff, is once we get this information and we know what to do, we know how to look at it, we know how to analyze it and fight for change. And so that's really my main update with that. The next meeting that we have coming up further, I just almost got the agenda done, but we will have a designed work plan in play with schedule, and our focus is on how we're going to go about that. So I'm really excited about that. That wasn't my own thing. I had been working with some other commissioners who are more stronger in those areas, but I think especially after our next meeting, we're going to have a very tangible process in a way that the community understands, the staff, police officials understand, and can support us with a very great relationship going further in building off these meetings. Commissioner Tyler, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, Chuck, I'll just add that I feel like there's a lot of energy and excitement around the group. I think one of the challenges is, you bring up folks from all different types of background in, and it's just kind of redefining and honing in on what our goals and objectives actually are. So I think that's one of the challenges I've seen of the group. But, again, I think we have a lot of great folks around the table that will continue to bring us back to what we need to do as a committee, as a group. So it's something I'm very excited about, and I love the energy and passion of the group.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyler. Is there any other questions or follow-ups? So Vice Chair Davis Dunn and then Commissioner Miller, please go ahead.
So I was able to kind of watch the second meeting, and I think Commissioner Tyler kind of hit on that. And I was wondering, have you guys really honed in on the lens and what you guys are operating from? I just feel like that was like the main point of why you guys were kind of like distorted and kind of off task. I look forward to the next meeting. And so like that wasn't clear to me. And I feel like, it is a racial equity lens. And I don't know if you guys clearly identified that or what that means when you guys are kind of like looking at these trends and looking at what types of issues or things you guys should address. And then I don't know if this was discussed as to how part 1s and part 2 crimes, like part 1 crimes are misdemeanor, part 2 crimes are felonies, and then like what triggers court order arrest, because in part 1 crimes, the data show that like there, a large portion of African Americans are that's how they become in contact with police officers, but then it shows that Part 2 crimes, like, Caucasians have more, or a larger percentage of those types of offenses. And then 2, on the court-ordered arrest, it shows that African Americans are often come in contact with officers because it's court-ordered arrest. And I don't know if that has anything to do, again, based on Part 1, Part 2 crimes, and why, if you guys dived into that, because that was something that was very triggering and alarming to me. So I was just curious about
I'll say yes to everything you said. We are. The challenge was, again, we had 2 meetings. The first meeting, we were just all saying hi and understanding what our roles are, and kind of seeing who's in the room. In the second meeting, we then started going to the next level of trying to figure out how we're going to work together. Who does what? Who has this? What experience is there? And all those things that you brought up have been discussed. All those things that you are concerned about, I think, as far as if we're going to be looking at that through the lenses that we should be, as far as the mandate is concerned, absolutely. But it just takes, it just really takes, a tremendous effort to really have such a complex issue, really, and have some substance of an outcome of something, or clarity on a lot of things at this point in time. And I think once we, like I said, have our third meeting, which is really our second one, in my opinion, I think the community will have a better understanding of kind of what to help us with, and how we can go forward with that discussion as well. Yes, Commissioner Miller, go ahead.
Yeah, thinking back on, first of all, thank you guys for your work on this. And I have your meetings in my to watch from the city file. But thinking about just that history and how we got to this, is there any benefit, or has it already been shared, sort of the HRC's history with complaints and hearing complaints and working with the police department? Is that something that you two have shared? And thinking, I've just been reflecting on that, given our own, inner conversation about of passing on that history to new folks. Or
it's so funny that you mentioned that, because yes, I've talked with one of the commissioners on the thing that we're doing, and you came to mind, Commissioner McWhirter came to mind, Commissioner Cannon came to mind, Commissioner Honey came to mind, in regards to someone sometime maybe in December coming in and really fulfilling that void of the background, the information, and some of the history of what the HRC is doing and why, and some of the background that will help the body overall be able to kind of have that input. So we, yes, we definitely see value in that, and we think it's something that we need to have from. And I was going to, try to ask one of you guys, see if you were interested in doing that. And I know, again, we got holiday season coming up and travel, and it's just a difficult time, but we got work to do. And so, we definitely will be reaching out to a couple of you, probably by as early as the next meeting or in between there, to see kind of if you're going to be around or not to do that.
Great, thanks.
All right, I think we'll move on for that update, and we'll go to item 6.2, because we already did 6.1 and 1.5 to Shelley, Mrs. Newman's update and report, and Mrs. Hardy as well.
Excellent. Just a couple of things to keep you posted on. Thanks to everybody who attended the Open Meetings Act presentation last week. I thought it was really valuable. I saw some of your faces on there, so that was really good. Thanks for attending. Secondly, we are moving forward with hiring social workers and neighborhood resource specialists. So positions have been offered. We're just finalizing some start dates. So that will begin very soon in the police department. Next, you probably heard Chuck mention this. The city council did approve the name change for the commission. So you are officially human rights commissioners.
Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you.
And then lastly, just as a point for the record.
Specific address?
No, just city.
Yep. Lansing, Michigan, USA.
County and state.
What's that?
County?
Kingdom.
Thank you.
Shelley, what about the Brookfield neighborhood thing? Did you do that? Were you doing that?
Actually, I did that with
Liz.
with Liz. Actually, Liz did the work, and then I got to look at it and pass it on to Shelley. So it was a good team. And we did not address the letter to Julie Grigsby, the state rep from our area, but rather we just did a CC to her because I did not know how to write a letter that was relevant, that addressed it to Julie and to the association as well. So we just did a copy to Julie of it, and it's in Shelley's hands now. Shelley, you said it was okay, right?
Yes, it was very good. And actually, once Chuck signs it, I will send it out to the commission so they can read it. Well done.
Thank you. In fairness, I have to say that Liz did the initial bulk of the work. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you for keeping me on task.
Thank you both, commissioners. I thought we were going to make you guys a little subcommittee. I thought we had that conversation. So what happened? Did we lose that translation? Anyway, is there any more staff updates, Mrs. Newman or Elaine, that you wanted to share?
I just wanted to just briefly share that we are in the process of conducting our survey with city staff. So we are working with the Truth and Titus Collective to gather data about employee impressions about their work with the city. And so we've got about 100 questions, and it covers a wide matrix of opinions about how staff view working at the city, and they do include questions around race and equity, and gender and pay. So we're really interested in seeing what those results are, because we're going to obviously use that landscape survey to inform some of the training that we're going to be doing with the staff. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what that looks like for us. And as you know, we began our first series of DEI training and capacity building with our city council and our city manager, and we having our second kind of follow up to our initial 8-hour session on Saturday. It's very productive. I'm very pleased so far with the work that Truth and Titus is doing with council and with staff around capacity building and kind of doing some identity work, which I think is very important. And then the last and most important thing, I just want to say, go Spartans. I think that anytime they beat Michigan, it is a great time to celebrate, not burn couches and be outside in the pandemic, but you should always celebrate MSU victory over Michigan. That's all I have.
Were you aware that Gretchen Whitmer predicted they would win by a 3-point margin?
That's because she's a genius.
Evidently.
That woman from Michigan is.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Hardy, and thank you, Mrs. Newman. Did you have a question or follow-up, Vice Chair Davis-Dunn?
Yeah, I did. Mrs. Hardy, I didn't. The survey results, will that be shared out?
So not the raw data from the survey, because we're actually going to be using it obviously to compile and do some work around how we're going to build our training. But we are going to compile a report. I'm not sure that that myself and Truth and Titus have agreed on what that report's going to look like yet. But yeah, the report probably could be made available. I don't know what format we're gonna have it in though.
Thank you. All right, assuming there's no more follow-up questions, we'll do to item 7.0, commissioner concerns. Do we have any commissioner concerns or updates about what's going on? Commissioner Catherine and Vice Chair Davis-Dunn.
I just have a point of privilege. I think the agenda, the new business and the old business are flipped. So in other agendas from the city, it's always, and in the past, from what I've experienced, it's always old business and new business so that we can finish off old business before we go into new stuff. So it might just be a point of privilege from my end, but I just wanted to call attention to that.
I was watching another commission. I think it was one of the downtown commissions. They do approval agenda before they do roll call. I saw today or yesterday or something like that. So that was weird. But I don't know. I don't know if it makes a difference in regards to any violations. Just kind of preference. I know that we have pushed everything that we vote on, generally speaking, that we'll vote on and have discussion about earlier in the agenda, so that when we do lose our closed captioning, that it's just discussion only based stuff. We are, I think, the only commission that really has the closed caption available, so we really wanted to prioritize that. But I don't know, if it's something that is a big deal or not. I know I work with Shelly to put stuff on there, and she, is very flexible. So if that's something that you want to do, Shelly, I don't know.
You spoke to it really well, Chuck. I think we put it that way because of the likelihood of perhaps motions being associated with new business.
All right.
I have no preference. Would you like us to switch it?
I just remind everyone that when we started talking about Robert's Rules of Order, we sort of agreed that we would be a little less formal than that. Think of it as Bob's Rules of Order. I don't know if it's a big deal, and I'm flexible to go either way with that.
So if I understand, Commissioner Cat, you're an advocate of just kind of less formal perfectness when it comes to that order there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that Commissioner Cannon? I heard Catherine.
Commissioner Cannon, yes. All right. Any other comments before we move on to adjourning? Yes, Vice Chair Davis Dunn.
Yeah, I don't know again what Commissioner Catherine comments were, but I think too, this is something that you should probably discuss, as far as Robert's Rules, they have recommendations for prioritizing agendas and kind of structures, and so I think if there's going to be modifications to how agenda is structured, that we need to make sure that's something that we're standardizing and committing to, just for consistency. But my initial, I wanted to follow up, and that wasn't really my initial concern, but something we can revisit later. The resolution regarding racism as a public health crisis, I just, as a commissioner and, just contributing to it, just would like to be able to review it before it goes before council. And I don't know if anybody else felt have any opinion about that, but I just wanted to kind of get an update on where that was and what agenda for council that would be presented on.
I'll say this. For that particular resolution, it was presented to the group, and we had a subcommittee, I believe, as well, worked on it and did our thing here in the body of what we did. And then we had 2 meetings with the council member who's going to be presenting this to the council for discussion and approval. And so my understanding is that we've done what we were supposed to do. And in order for us to continue having council ask us to do things, we need to make sure we do things in a professional and timely manner in regards to getting the work done. And so from what I understand, where we're at with that, it's in the hands of council now to formally go ahead and do what they do or don't do based on what the body of this commission has already done and worked on. If there's additional things that you want to add in there, then I think for that particular resolution, the appropriate thing would be in public comment or email directly with the council member who is presenting it to council.
I think that's not it's not that I wanted to amend it. I would, and then you talked about a subcommittee. I was unaware that the HRC had a subcommittee that worked on that resolution.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that.
And for me, I just feel like Again, just being able to review something that we contribute to as a body would just be nice, to ensure that, our thoughts and opinions were accurately captured before it goes before a vote, because then we don't run into this issue where we're in a council meeting and we're in public comments, or if there's discussion around the resolution and there's some discrepancies, and some varying opinions of things. I just think that if it was something that we worked on as a body, or something that we were pushing or advocating as a commission, that we should, be able to have final review of what that product is.
And thank you, and I respect that. I think about the 1491 disorderly conduct thing. That's a great example of how we did what we did. We moved it forward. There were some additional questions, and we met for 5 hours outside of that after we got done what we did. For this, same thing happened. We did what we did. We had, I think, 2, maybe 3 meetings outside of it to ensure that the recommendations that we made were reflected and appreciated and understood. And at the end of the day, we are just an advisory to that. And so we just wanted to make sure what we talked about in this body that we did and honored that through the process. I know Mrs. Hardy also worked on that. If you want to chime in on any of that, as far as her concerns or that particular process of that resolution.
So where the resolution stands now is pretty much where you said it is, Chuck. Councilmember Watson has a draft copy of council's resolution that had some information that was provided from the HRC that was incorporated in there. So all of the HRC's recommendations about what should be included in the resolution are in the resolution. We can certainly make a copy of it available. It has not, from my understanding, at least as of tonight, it has not been approved to go on to this November 10th agenda. But when it does, we can, it's certainly available for you to take a look at, But the resolution is still in draft form until whatever magic happens after I've given it away, then until it's passed by council. But it is council's resolution, and so, but I'm happy to make a copy available to you for those of you who want to see it. But it was really, I think that there were a couple of HRC members who had requests for input on the resolution, and all of it was incorporated in the resolution.
Thank you for that update. I just know that it was sent kind of silently, so I don't know all the input that was contributed, and I don't think the commission is aware of that either. And there were several commissioners that wanted had interest in amending some of the language or adding some context to it, and so I wanted it as an opportunity for us to again in old business discuss and close out to know where it was. And I know that Commissioner Honey, I don't know if she had an opportunity to kind of weigh in, or that her thoughts or anything was captured on that, and so that was just again my reasoning and wanting to be able to review something that we kind of tackled or was focused on as a commission. It was on our previous agenda, and it should have been on our a part of our old business.
Thank you for those comments and concerns. The last thing I'll say about this is that we did what we did on our business with that, and we gave an opportunity for everyone if they had follow-up things they wanted to add, and everyone that wanted to add something as far as their additions after our meetings was included, like Elaine Hardy had said. I did reach out to everyone who said that they were interested in making amendments, and they have confirmed or gave Elaine that information. So we appreciate that. We definitely want to make sure that when we work on something, we are represented as a body in that work as well going forward. Any other commissioner concerns? All right.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Cannon. Yes, go ahead.
Shelley, when you raised the fact that there's going to be a presentation to City Council about what we are doing, did you suggest that we needed to be there Tuesday night, or not necessarily, or just an FYI?
So regarding what, Pat?
It was the first thing you said to us before we even did the roll call.
Oh, yep, no, you do not have to be in attendance there. This is citywide policy that they're establishing on how to handle meetings that are online.
Good, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
It's time for a motion to adjourn.
I'm looking for one.
I will offer that, but first say that Chuck, you do a fine job of running our meetings, and I appreciate it. And I move we adjourn.
Is there a second? Did you second that, Commissioner or Vice Chair Davis-Dunn?
No, I just wanted to add additional, just kind of concerns, just again about like our operations and just that just for standard and best practice that it, you know, again, not to be, you know, a dead horse that again, the item of the resolution was new business on our previous agenda, and it should have been on our old business. And I just need that in order to follow what we're doing. When we talk about retention, data retention, if we're not capturing what we're doing, where things are at, and when we're closing things out, you know, it's behaviors that, you know, lead to certain things. So that's just my gripe, but I second the motion.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion about the motion? You guys ready to get out of here? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you all very, very much for your time and energy tonight. Good night.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you for the compliment, Commissioner Cannon, as well. Thank you. That's it. It's a wrap. What a meeting that was. End things out. Thank you for joining me. If you made it through 2.2 hours. Bye.